Hello, my friend. Welcome to a world of questions, a world where shadows whisper and truth hides in silence. Long before our time, in the ancient city of Athens, there lived a man whose thoughts would echo through eternity. His name was Plato. But Plato was not born a legend. He was once a young boy, curious, restless, searching for answers in a world full of uncertainty. He looked at the stars and wondered, what is this universe? Why are we here? And most importantly, what is real? These questions followed him everywhere, through the streets of Athens, through the noise of the markets, through the quiet of the night. But everything changed the day he met a man named Socrates. Socrates was not like others. He did not claim to have answers. Instead, he asked questions so deep, so powerful, that they shook the very foundations of belief. To Plato, Socrates was more than a teacher. He was a guide, a mentor, a light in the darkness. Under his influence, Plato's mind expanded. He began to see the world differently, not as it appeared, but as it truly was, or perhaps as it could be. But truth is dangerous, and those who challenge it often pay a price. The people of Athens feared Socrates, not because he was wrong, but because he made them question everything they thought they knew. And so, they silenced him. Socrates was arrested, put on trial, and sentenced to death. Plato watched in silence, powerless, broken, as his teacher drank the poison, for the crime of seeking truth. That moment changed Plato forever. The world he once trusted now felt uncertain, fragile, even false. And so, he left. He traveled across distant lands, seeking knowledge, searching for meaning. From the wisdom of Egypt to the philosophies of other great minds, Plato absorbed everything he could. But no matter how far he went, one question remained. What is reality? And then he imagined something extraordinary, a story, simple, yet powerful. A cave. Inside this cave, people were chained from the moment they were born. They could not move. They could not turn their heads. All they could see were shadows cast on a wall. These shadows were their reality, the only truth they had ever known. But what if one of them broke free? What if he turned around and saw the fire behind him, the objects casting those shadows? What if he stepped outside the cave and saw the real world, illuminated by the sun? At first, the light would blind him, the truth would hurt, but slowly he would begin to see, to understand, to realize that everything he once believed was an illusion. And then he would return to the cave to tell the others, but they would not believe him. They would laugh at him, reject him, perhaps even attack him, because accepting the truth means admitting that everything you knew was wrong. This was Plato's message, a warning and a question. Living in a world of shadows, mistaking illusion for reality? Plato did not stop there. He returned to Athens, not as a student, but as a teacher. He founded a place called the Academy, a place where minds could grow, where ideas could be challenged, where truth could be explored without fear. Here, he taught future thinkers to question everything, to seek knowledge, not comfort, to understand that reality is not always what it seems. Among his many ideas, one stood above the rest, the idea of a perfect society. In his famous work, The Republic, Plato described a world governed not by power, but by wisdom. A world where rulers were not chosen by wealth or strength, but by their understanding of truth. Philosopher kings, leaders who see beyond the shadows and guide others toward the light. But even this idea raised questions. Can power ever remain pure? Can knowledge alone create justice? Plato knew that perfection may never exist. As the years passed, Plato grew older, but his mind remained as sharp as ever. He continued to write, to teach, to question, until the very end. And then, one day, he was gone. No grand farewell, no final words, just silence. But his ideas never faded. They lived on, in his writings, in his students, in the minds of those who dared to think. Centuries passed. Empires rose and fell. The world changed, in ways he could never have imagined. But his questions remained. Even today, in a world filled with technology, with endless information, with voices louder than ever before, we still ask, what is real? What is truth? Are we seeing the world as it is, or just as it appears? Are we free, or are we still in the cave? Maybe the answer is not something we find. Maybe it is something we seek, because Plato never gave us answers. He gave us something far more powerful, the ability to question. And in those questions lies the beginning of wisdom, the same question that has echoed through time. Are you ready to step out of the cave? Or will you remain watching shadows, believing they are real? The choice has always been yours. Goodbye, my friend.